Good evening and welcome to the shiur in Kuntres Beis Rabbeinu Shebibovel. Tonight we're going to do part 7 of the shiur, and we're holding at Ois Ches. Ois Ches is the last Ois of the Kuntres Beis Rabbeinu Shebibovel, and if you'd like to follow along inside, you could go to expand770.com, and over there you can find in the resources tab the Kuntres Beis Rabbeinu Shebibovel. Ois Ches starts like this. When we're talking about Beis Rabbeinu Shebibovel, and that with Beis Rabbeinu Shebibovel we complete our mission in Golus. Beis Rabbeinu 770. Hayleches v'nimsheches u'beyeser se'eis u'beyeser eis gam la'achrei eser shanim ha'achreinis b'chaim chayusei ba'almadein. The avodah of spreading Torah, Yiddishkeit, and Chassidus from Beis Rabbeinu from 770 continues to get stronger and stronger also after the Frierdiker Rebbe's last decade of his life in this world. And it's been going on, and when the Rebbe published his Kuntres, at that time, it was Yoser me'arbaim shana, more than 40 years, Tafshin Yud to Tafshin Nun. Ba'ofen the Nasan Hashem lachem leiv ladas ve'inayim lirois ve'oznayim lishmaya. So once we pass 40 years, so the Rebbe quotes a pasuk where Moshe Rabeinu tells the Yidden that after 40 years of traveling in the desert, so Moshe Rabeinu said in the pasuk, he says, "Loi nasan Hashem." Hashem did not give you these things, but he says at the end of the pasuk, "Ad hayom hazeh." And 1 second, please. Ready? So Ad hayom hazeh, Moshe Rabeinu, until 40 years, he was saying that the Yidden did not have the heart to understand, the eyes to see, and the ears to hear. But after 40 years, Ad hayom hazeh, then we do have a heart to understand, and eyes to see, and ears to hear. So the Rebbe is saying that now that we had already over 40 years of the continuation after the Frierdiker Rebbe's life in this world, so we already have, we are doing the avodah of spreading Yiddishkeit, Torah, and Chassidus in a way of really a deep feeling and a deep connection to what we were doing. V'nimtza Chof Beis Rabbeinu 770 hu b'vchinas tal piyos, teil shekol piyos peinim boi. So the result is that the result after all these 40 years of continuing to do the work of spreading Torah, Yiddishkeit, and Chassidus all over the world from 770, the result is that 770 today is considered Tal Piyos. So the word Tal Piyos is actually translated in a few translations that is translated as a model. So 770 is the model for the whole world, where everyone looks. And like the Gemara that we brought earlier in the Kuntres, it's a Gemara in Brachos, Daf Lamed Amid Aleph, that the Gemara over there says that when we daven, we should face towards the Beis hamikdosh, which is the tail shekol piyos peinim by, the mound, the hill that all mouths face. So 770 is the model to which everyone faces, because from 770 came all the spreading of Yiddishkeit, Torah, and Chassidus to the whole world. So today, the whole world looks at 770 as the model. Yoser me'yovel shanim, Tafshin to Tafshin Nun, which is Ad Olam. And this has been going on for more than 50 years, because this spreading Torah from 770 really started when the Frierdiker Rebbe came, which is in Tafshin. So from Tafshin to Tafshin Nun is more than a yovel, and the Rebbe therefore quotes that it's considered Ad Olam, where we know that in Torah, when it says the word Ad Olam, it means 50 years. It means a yovel. So once we have 50 years, it has the term of forever. So therefore, 770 is the model and where everyone faces and turns forever. This concept is stressed even more. We see this even more when we continue to have greater numbers of Bnei Yisrael that come to Beis Rabbeinu. B'roiv am hadras melech, so pasuk in Mishli, Perek Yudal pasuk Chavches, that says that the beauty, the splendor of the king is with many people. And when you have many people, that's the splendor of the king. Kailol gam man malki rabbanon. So when the king's splendor is with Roiv am, so the Rebbe says that when we say king, we're also referring to who is the king, who are the king, and so the Gemara says that the kings are the rabbanim. So the rabbanim who are kings, they deserve a Roiv am. They deserve many people. Ubifrat nasi hadar, and he says ubifrat nasi melech hadar, and especially because we're dealing with the nasi hadar, who's the king of the generation. So the king has a Roiv am, and because there's a Roiv am coming, there's so many Yidden coming to 770. The nasa tzayrech lehechrech lahagdil laharchiv oid yoser as Beis Rabbeinu. There has become a need and a necessity to make bigger and to expand even more Beis Rabbeinu. And in the ha'aras over in the footnotes over here, he mentions first of all, like the halacha the Rambam says about the Beis Hamikdosh, that it's lachazek esabininu lahagbiyai shenemar l'reimim is Beis Elokeinu, that we have an obligation of strengthening the building and uplifting it, making it bigger and greater. As the pasuk says, l'reimim is Beis Elokeinu, and that's what the Rambam says about b'nei Giel Beis Hamikdosh. And then the Rebbe says in the footnote, Val derech zeh b'nei Giel Beis HaKnesset to Beis HaMedrash. Re'ei Rambam Hilchos Tefillah Perek Yudal Halacha Beis. The Rambam paskins the same thing, that when you're building a shul and a Beis Medrash, also just like it has the same halacha as the Beis HaMikdash, that it should be big, it should be the highest, it should be beautiful. And when the Rebbe says that we have to expand it even more, so in the footnote he says, in addition, Naisav al Hachravasai b'meshach hashanim shalifnei, that there needs to be expansion even more. And he also adds v'kama pa'amim, that there's been several expansions of 770 in the years prior, but there needs to be even more expansion. V'ad lahagdala v'harchava shehi ba'ofen de pritzas geder. And we're talking about an expansion and making it bigger and greater in a way of breaking through all barriers. Pritzas geder. Paratsta, which is B'gematria 770. Like we know that we mentioned earlier, Paratsta, which means to break out, to expand, is the Gematria of 770. Kemai binyan bayis chadash. We're talking about such a breaking out, so much breaking out of boundaries and barriers, that it should be such an expansion where we consider the expansion a bayis chadash, a brand new house. And in the footnote over there, he says, Va'ad lahanachas even pina, to the extent of putting down a cornerstone. Because technically, if you're just expanding an existing building, so what do you need to do a cornerstone? A cornerstone is something when you're building a new building. So you make a cornerstone for the new building. But the Rebbe is saying that we need such an expansion for 770 that the expansion should be almost like a brand new building. And in the footnote of the footnote, he says, "Be'erev Chai Elul Shnas Tismach Nercha Hanachas Even Pina." Erev Chai Elul, the year Tavshin Memches, which was this Kuntres came out in Tavshin Beis. So this was already 4 years later. He says on Erev Chai Elul, there was a Hanachas Even, there was a groundbreaking and putting down of the cornerstone. for making bigger and expanding the shul and Beis Medrash of Lubavitch Yeshivos. The Maimed Kuntres Beis Rabbeinu with the Rebbe's presence, and Pina biyadav hakdoshim, for he put down with his holy hands the cornerstone. And also look at the sicha that was said by the Rebbe by this Hanocha 7 Pina. And also look at the sicha that the Rebbe spoke on Heshayne Rabbah in Tafshim Mem Tes in Sif Yud Beis. Now, in the sicha that the Rebbe spoke by the Even Apina, I want to just go through some stuff about it. Maybe we'll even do another Zoom for that sicha. Maybe we'll learn that sicha together. But basically like this. So the Rebbe spoke over there and he said that we have to look that when it comes to building something new, we have to look at how Hashem created the world and to act the same way that Hashem created the world. And therefore, where does the world, how did Hashem start creating the world? He started from the Even Shasiyah, by putting down the Even Shasiyah, which was in the place of the Beis Hamikdosh in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. This stone, the Even Shasiyah, was the foundation for the entire creation. That's why the name is Even Shasiyah, Shemimena Hush Sasa Olam. So from this, the Rebbe says each and every person should learn that and take a lesson, that when you're building a new house, that whether it's Begashmius or Baruchnius, the foundation of the building needs to be connected with holiness, with the Beis Hamikdash, and not just regular holiness, but with the Kodesh HaKadoshim, similar to the Even Shasiyah, which is in the place of the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And then afterwards, once the foundation is established to be holy, to be Kodesh HaKadoshim, then you continue to build from that, and you build the rest of the you build the rest of the building on that foundation. And therefore, the whole building will be connected to the holiness of the foundation. And when we act in such a manner, then we merit to have the brachas of Hashem, and that Hashem promises that He will be your partner with all your commitments, and to get it done, to actually fulfill your construction, and to do it that it should be bezrizus and with a lot of success, begashmius, and how much more so beruchnius. And the Rebbe said that this house should be v'asal hamikdosh v'shachanti b'seicham, that everything that is in the house that you're building should be holy, because Hashem is going to dwell in it in a permanent manner, and it should be mitech simcha v'tuv levav, with happiness and gladness of heart. And then the Rebbe says that we should also connect it to the parsha, that right when the Yidden come into Eretz Yisrael, the Torah says that the first mitzvah is that they are obligated to build a mizbeach for Hashem, and on the mizbeach we bring karbanis, and we bring thanks to Hashem, and we bring peace offerings, and this is a lesson for each and every one of us, even people who find themselves in Chutz La'aretz, where we are not in Eretz Yisrael, that when we're doing Machda Eretz Yisrael, meaning when we come into Eretz Yisrael, which means that we're trying to make Chutz La'aretz, we're trying to take the diaspora and turn it into Eretz Yisrael, which we learned in this Kuntres is our job in Galus. So what is our job when we're trying to make Machda Eretz Yisrael? We need to build we need to build a house for Hashem. So this is really our avodah, when a person is trying to do the avodah of elevating the world and making Machda Eretz Yisrael, you need to start off by building a house for Hashem. And that's what was happening by the Anash 7 where they were building a brand new, an expansion for 770 in a way of a new building. And then the Rebbe mentioned the Sicha of Leil Hashayne Rabbah Tavshim Mem Tes. And over there, the Rebbe speaks about the importance of everybody building, to do construction projects and to build buildings of Torah, Avodah, and Gemilas Chasadim, and that it should be done in a very big shturim, and it should be big and expanded. And the Rebbe says that over there in that sicha that the purpose of a yid is not to make money, but rather to build up Yiddishkeit, and the purpose of a chassid is to make that the Yiddishkeit should penetrate, should be penetrated with the light of Chassidus, and therefore we have to build buildings where we could learn Torah and Chassidus. And then the Rebbe says, so too, when we have, being that we have that 770 needs to be expanded, but so the Rebbe says that recently people have come and they told the Rebbe that they have their own ways of doing the plans to expand 770. And the Rebbe says that people have to realize that the one who's in charge of expanding 770 is the Rebbe himself, and we don't need individuals to come up with their own ways of making 770 greater, because the Rebbe is the one who makes 770 greater. And over here, the Rebbe is telling us, going back into the actual Sikha, that the way the Rebbe wants it is, because this is the Sikha of the Rebbe, and the Rebbe is saying that because there's people coming, and there's a lot more people coming to 770, and we need room for them, so therefore the Rebbe says we must build and we must expand 770 in a way of pritzas together, like a binyan bayis chadash. So if you think about it in this footnote, where the footnote started off with that it should be bayis chadash to the extent of putting down a cornerstone. So then the Rebbe in the Kuntres, the Rebbe is saying, and who put down the cornerstone? The Rebbe put down the cornerstone, which means that it's happening with the strength of the Rebbe, and that the whole expansion needs to be based on the strength of the Rebbe, because only the Rebbe has the right to expand 770. So therefore, the entire, that's where the foundation of the expansion is, the cornerstone that the Rebbe put. And from there, we build the rest of 770. And I'll pay attention to the next paragraph, because I think something that many people really looked over all these years, and the campaign that we're trying to do now to inspire every Lubavitcher to promote and encourage expansion is very much sourced in this paragraph right here. Like we just learned, that the Rebbe is telling us that the Rebbe is the one that expands 770. And therefore, we need to listen to the Rebbe's directives on how to expand 770. So let's look what the Rebbe says. According to what we explained in this Kuntres about the greatness of Beis Rabbeinu Shebibovel, Shenasa hamikdosh v'yoshav sham, that we're dealing with the actual Beis hamikdosh, that it moved, the Beis hamikdosh moved from its place and it settled here in 770. And this is the actual place of the Beis hamikdosh in the future. And like we mentioned several times in this Kuntres, that when the future Beis hamikdosh Ashlishi will be revealed, it will be revealed first here in 770, and from 770 it will return to Yerushalayim, to its place. So therefore the Rebbe says, "Moving goydel haschus l'kol echad ve'echad miYisrael." So it's understood the great merit that each and every one of Yisrael has. And here's the Rebbe's directive: lehishtateif begufay, to participate physically, to participate with your body, ubimamaynai, and with your money. And look at the Araf 105, footnote 105, very important footnote. Al derech ubedugmas beis hamikdosh. That when we say here that everyone should be involved, participate with his body and his money, this is similar to the Beis hamikdosh, and the Rebbe quotes the halacha in Rambam. Shahakoil chayovin livnois u'lesaid ba'atzmon u'b'mamaynom chulu. Everyone has an obligation, a hischayvus, to build and to help with themselves, with their actual selves, ba'atzmon u'b'mamaynom, and with their money. V'chol hamar be'harei meshubach. And whoever, back to the Rebbe Sikha, and whoever does more, whoever increases in their involvement, participation of making expansion happen is more praiseworthy. B'bniyas Beis Rabbeinu Shebibovel, with building the Beis Rabbeinu Shebibovel, kahachana liiridas v'yiskalos mikdash ha'asi taken from Anash, as a preparation to bringing down and revealing the mikdash of the future, the Beis Hamikdash Ashlishi, which should be taken from Yad Mamish. Now, like I said, I believe that for many, many years, and no one took this directive seriously, where that every single one of the Yidden, and the truth is, very often I say that our purpose is to inspire every Lubavitcher, but really the Rebbe says here that kol echad ve'echad miYisrael should be involved with building, expanding 770. So this means the Rebbe actually wants each and every Yid to be involved in to participate physically with bringing about the expansion of 770. So we see here something that is interesting, because technically there are people in charge and there are organizations in charge of the actual expansion of how things are supposed to happen, and they're the ones that are supposed to, whatever it is, decide on all the decisions of the expansion. So what is the Rebbe saying here? That each and every Yid should be involved with his body. So I believe that, unless someone else has another taich, that by joining our campaign of promoting and encouraging the expansion, each one in his own capacity and each one in their own sphere of influence. If you go on our website, you could also see the initiatives that we have, different ideas of how to promote expansion. But Pashat Kipshutai, to make something begufay, that when you're involved begufay, it means that it's your personal business, which means that even if there's taka a certain committee they're in charge of the actual construction or the actual decisions, fine. But if you were put in charge to make sure that it happens, you would do whatever it takes to make sure it happens, to bring about the expansion. And I think also similar, when we say the words begufay, I think it's also similar to the actual guf of a person, which means when it comes to a person's own body, we all know that if we don't take care of our own bodies, no one else will take care of it for us. If a person is in charge, it's a pikadon. The Eibishter gave you a pikadon to take care of your body, and if you're not going to do it, no one else is going to do it for you. And I think also when it comes to expansion, the Rebbe says to be mishtatev begufay. I believe that it's a similar situation where the Rebbe is telling you that if you're not going to be involved to make sure expansion happens, then it's never going to happen. We need you to make sure that you understand that it's your personal business, that you are chayav to be involved, to participate begufay b'mamayne. The Hazman Grama, back to the Sicha. The Hazman Grama, and the time is also the right timing. B'shnas Tzadik, in the year of Tzadik, which is of the Frierdiker Rebbe's capital that they were. Hold on one second. Now I believe that the Rebbe is actually referring to his own capital. I believe that the Rebbe is referring to his own capital, Shnasat Tzadik. Yes, he is referring to his own capital, and he says that Kimudgish Tehillim Mizmer Tzadik, as it says in Tehillim capital Tzadik, which is also interesting because it really in Ois Ches, the Rebbe, he's saying here, Betkufa ha'achreina, in the last era. See, and he starts off by saying that with our continuation after Tafshin Yud, with what we did after Tafshin Yud. So the Rebbe is also referring to the fact that this is the Tkufa Achreina, the capital that we're saying now, the Rebbe's capital, which was at that time capital Tzadik, which in Ha'araf, in footnote 106, he says, after finishing the capital Peites, which is Asher Cherfu Ikves Mishichecha, Baruch Hashem Lo'elam Amen V'Amen. So now we come to capital Tzadik, Ashayach Shanazu, which is connected to this year, as we know in Ha'araf 107 that the minhag, which is we have a tradition from the Baal Shem Tov to say your capital Tehillim, which is according to the years of your life, the number how old you are. Shahas Chalasai, the beginning of capital Tzadik is Hashem Ma'ain Ata Hayisalanu B'der B'der. Hashem, you were our Ma'ain, our tower in all generations, which we also mentioned earlier in this Kuntres, this pasuk from the Gemara that says this, Shekai Gam al Bate Knesiyos Ubate Midrashes. When we say Ma'ain, we're also referring to the shuls and Bate Midrashes. V'siyumai v'chaysamai, and at the end of that capital Tzadik, it says, and Moshe, it's explained that Moshe Rabeinu is davening that the Eibishter should be shoyre, should dwell and come into the base of hamikdosh that the Yidden build, and he says there, V'hi noyam Hashem Elokeinu aleinu, the sweetness of Hashem Elokeinu should be upon us. And the making of our hands will really be that Hashem made it. Hashem made the base of hamikdosh. Shekai al ashras hashchina b'mishkan hamikdosh, which is going on, the Eibishter, the Shechina coming down into the Mishkan and the Beis Hamikdash. The Yehi Ratzon. This is the last paragraph of the Kuntres, and the Rebbe ends off by saying that, and I believe also that because the Rebbe is getting us all into participating, so the Rebbe is saying that we don't even have to wait until the end of the actual expansion until it actually gets completed. But already once you get involved and once you start participating, then the Rebbe says, that even before we expand and make great and make bigger the Beis Rabbeinu Shebibovel, the future mikdosh, Beis Hamikdosh Ashlishi, will be revealed and will descend from heaven. Mikdosh Adnai Kainenu Yodecha, as we say in Oz Yashir, that the Eibishter, that the mikdosh is actually Hashem's handiwork. Hashem makes the Beis Hamikdosh. Beis Hamikdosh Ashlishi v'hamishulash, the third Beis Hamikdosh, and the mishulash, the tripled Beis Hamikdosh, because in the Beis Hamikdosh Ashlishi will include Shekoilo Gam HaMishkan. In it will also have the Mishkan, U Bayis Rishen, U Bayis Sheni, and the first two Bate Mikdashes will also be in it. Which we know, like we explained earlier, that this third Beis Hamikdash will first be revealed in Beis Rabbeinu Shebibovel in 770. Shagamhu Bayis Mishulash, for 770 is also a tripled house, because it houses, it's host of three different things. It's the Beis HaKnesses, it's a shul which of tefillah, that's one. It's also another house. It's a Beis HaMedrash, it's a yeshiva of Torah. Ubayis Maisim, Ubeis Maisim Tovim, Gemilus Chasadim, and also it's a house of good deeds, of giving kindness, Gemilus Chasadim. Misham Yachzor LiYerushalayim. And from there, the Beis Hamikdash Ashlishi will return to Yerushalayim. Together, it will move together with all the shuls and all the Bati Midrashis from all over the world. Which will be moved and established in Eretz Yisrael and in Yerushalayim, connected to the Beis Hamikdash. And as well in Kol Bnei Yisrael, with all the Jewish people, that are in all corners of the planet. As the pasuk says, I will bring them to my holy mountain, and I will make them rejoice in the house of my prayer, in my based tefillah. Ki beisi based tefillah yikarei l'chol ha'amim. For my house, the house of davening, for my house will be called a house of prayer l'chol ha'amim, for all nations. And in another footnote 112, the Rebbe says, u'me'ein zeh gam b'soyz man hagolus. And similar to this, also in the end of the time of Galus, Beis Rabbeinu Shebibovel Yikarei Gam L'chol Ha'amim, that Beis Rabbeinu Shebibovel 770 will also be considered the house of prayer for all nations, not just Bnei Yisrael. Through our efforts, Behafatzas Halimud, with spreading the learning, the study, the Hakiyum, and the fulfillment, the mitzvahs Shenistavu Bnei Noach, of the 7 commandments that the Bnei Noach were commanded. Rambam Hilchos Melachim said Parak. The Rambam says that the Moshe Rabeinu did not just command us to keep the Torah, but he also commanded us to make sure that the rest of the to make sure that the rest of the nations of the world keep their 7 commandments that they have. And back to the inside of the Sikha, Nochen yiyeh har beis Hashem b'reish haharim, v'nasa migvais, v'naharu elav kol hagoyim, v'holchu amim rabim v'amru l'chu v'nale el har Hashem, El Beis Alikei Yaakov, v'Yereinu Midrachav, v'Neilcha B'Erchaisav, Ki Mitzion Teitzei Seira, Udvar Hashem Yerushalayim. It says, this is in Yeshaya, and he says that it shall be at the end of the days that the mountain of Hashem's house shall be firmly established at the top of the mountains, and it shall be raised above the hills, and all the nations shall stream to it. And many peoples shall go, and they shall say, come, let us go up to Hashem's mountain, to the house of the God of Yaakov, and let him teach us of his ways, and we will go in his paths. For out of Tzion shall the Torah come forth, and the word of Hashem from Yerushalayim. And the Rebbe ends off with Torah Chadasha Me'iti Teitzei. Take it from Yad Mamish. This should happen. Take it from Yad Mamish, and let us say Amen. This is the end of the Kuntres. It ends off with the source of the sichos that this Kuntres was taken from. Mesichei Shabbat Parshas Noach Tashim Mem Zayin, Shabbat Parshas Pinchas v'Koyach Sivan Tinasei v'Oid. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. that sums up the end of learning the Kuntres together. And the Mirz Hashem, being that with Kedusha we only go higher, we only expand the Kedusha. So we're going to Mirz Hashem continue to expand this shir, and we'll see, either we'll learn the Sikha inside of the Sikha that the Rebbe spoke by the Even Apina, or something else. Thank you very much for joining us, and please join us in participating Begufay L'Ishtatif Beguf to expand 770, to promote and encourage the expansion of 770, and let us have Mashiach now. Thank you very much. Gute Nacht.